Welcome to the bold analysis. For those who have been following our podcast, better part of today, I think around 10 a.m., you realize that I went live shortly, one-on-one with Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga Baba. And I think since the last general election, but that is for the first time that I was meeting one-on-one with Raila. The last time I interacted with Raila was in May last year, not May, that was June last year, actually in a Zoom meeting, which was, they were releasing some information that we needed to capture. So today, I met one-on-one with Baba. And of course, as the bold, we did not disappoint to capture his position on a couple of many other things. By the way, one thing I can tell you is Baba is still strong. Baba is still very strong and is very promising. He's, people always thought that after the last general election, Raila is still strong. That's one thing I can say. I think and I see he's still going to be very active in the next general election. If he'll be campaigning for someone or campaigning for himself, then Raila Odinga still have some clout. I still have clout. I think we have the law of diminishing returns, but to Odinga, Wanakeyo is still very strong. And I also passed our greetings as the bold family. Now, there are 5 things that Raila told me so that I can pass this message to you. And this is what I want us to look at in this podcast. My first question that I wanted to know, I asked Raila, what was their objective in the bipartisan talks now that it's almost falling down? And he's saying that contrary to the public opinion, that the talks are meant for them to get positions, or rather the talks are a way of trying to, try to come close to William Ruto administration. Raila is saying that the best they would want from the talks is restructure of IEBC. And restructure of IEBC, he is saying clearly that he has a dream of a level playing ground, whether it is him who is vying or someone else who is vying. A strong hint that he's going to support someone. All those options are on the table. And that he would want that IEBC reforms, if effected in the consensus through consensus in the bipartisan talks, would involve reforms in almost all those, an overhaul, sweeping away everyone and the whole system that has been at the post body for the last 10 years, so that they will bring a fresh team, new energy, fresh system, and not the 2022 and 2017 system. In fact, in his own understanding, he's saying that 2017 and 2022 was just the same system, but Chebukati just tweaked things a bit. So for those who've been talking about bipartisan talks is supposed to create positions, he's saying no. What he wants is IBC. Number 2 is the ODM, the double speak in ODM expelling Jalango and the team. These are narratives that I've always been seeing in our comment section reactions, because the meeting was literally to understand. And I think I liked the round table because it's really to understand what is the audience thinking, what is the audience saying, and we have that back and forth just to understand what are some of the concerns that Kenyans are having. And we're glad we may have these periodic meetings and so that round table, so that we share, we also compare some of the questions. And the other one, the second one, was on the push to push away Jalango and the team. According to ODM, The reason why there've been a pledge, or rather been a complaint of a double speak, that himself he's been meeting Ruto. Some of Azimio top ranks, Kalonzo Musyoka, met William Ruto. But while MPs meet William Ruto, it becomes an issue. And he is saying that according to the political parties, rule, there is a very clear line evidence against some of these MPs that they have started registering members of UDA party in some Azimio strongholds. And that is why he has a strong beef with them. That despite, apart from what is seen in public, the only thing that cameras and the mainstream media is capturing is the fact that these MPs have been meeting William Ruto. But from their own end, they also understand that some of ODM MPs have been registering UDA members in those Azimio strongholds. A very clear line that probably they have moved to the Kenya Kwanza side. And while taking a direct swipe at William Ruto, challenging William Ruto that even though the government always want majority, but even in the push to get majority, it should not extend to using authoritarian rule in buying, or rather getting, minority MPs on their side. Raila is admitting that what has been happening at Jubilee has been a well choreographed strategy by the powers to ensure that they kill such a party, because they believe that the Jubilee party belonged to him and Uhuru took it from him. So that is also one thing, and it borders the discipline of following the political party's rule. Before I look at the third, which is now very strong, I want to remind you about Topmark Movers. Topmark Movers is a company that help you to move from one town to the other, whether it is moving households, moving office furnitures, fumigation, and even international movement. They are reliable, professional, and affordable. You can visit their website www.topmarkmovers.com, or you can also contact them directly 0719 17 43 93. Topmark Movers, quality is everything. I want us to move fast to my other third message that Raila said. My other point was that what was exactly his real beef with Chebukati in respect to last presidential election. Odinga is saying that apart from what has been captured in public and what the public has been fed with, Wafula Chebukati is a man that should be behind bars. And he's saying that apart from 2022, he both bungled 2017 and 2022, and it's not just by coincidence. For example, the constitution envisioned that the chairman is supposed to gazette results from 290 constituencies. To date, the only results that the IBC chairperson gazetted were from 47 counties. And the reason why they were not gazetted, because he knew, because in counties there is no ROs, just county election officers. So he's saying that they did not gazette, Chebukati did not gazette 290 constituencies because he knew that returning officers would actually challenge some of those results in public. And in a very clear swipe, he's saying that the division that was witnessed at the commission, at the IBC for the last two elections, both in 2017 and 2022, is legendary. And of course, Chebukati bears a responsibility as far as flawed elections in the history of this country is concerned. And on this one, while attaching to this, the election on this, admitting that indeed there were some personal fortunes, demand for personal fortunes in dollars, to ensure that election is maybe done on whichever way. But that was not there. Odinga insisting that he believes on the straight path. If I win, you give me. If I don't win, you give the winner, and I consider the loser. The other message was on Irene Maset. While Raila telling us that both the 4 breakaway commissioners, out of the 4 breakaway commissioners, Irene Maset and Cherera have been pushed out and are actually living in exile somewhere in US, admitting that he's been in contact with them. And particularly to Irene Maset, he remained to fight and was willing to spill the beans and go head on with the state to clean her name on whatever was leveled against her. And she had to be pushed out because she was going to spill the beans on what she exactly knows that transpired in Bomas of Kenya. And in that regard, Odinga believes that the backbone of a free and fair election rests with the unity and the synergy of the commissioners. And that is why insisting that similar to the 1997 election, where political parties selected commissioners on IPPG, then that is the direction the country should take. Now, on 1 year, William Ruto's reign within 1 year, his most worrying issue is about the planting of Kalenjin nation in this country. Do you know that every ministry where there is a waziri who is a Kalenjin, or another tribe, you might find a PS is a Kalenjin. And if a PS is a Kalenjin, then waziri is another tribe. And he's saying that in this instant, this is what they've gathered, that when the PS is a Kalenjin, then William Ruto and some of those ministers have been telling the opposition in secrecy that in respect to places where a minister, William Ruto is either close with the PS or close with the minister. Where PS is a Kalenjin, you'll find out that Kalenjin is the one working with the president. And some instances where he's not in good terms with the PS, he's working with the minister. And this is what was witnessed during the Nyayo era, where the Matiba, the Charles Rubia, the Paul Mwite, people suffered, while what mostly happened is the Nyayo era was a situation where President planted his proxies almost everywhere. In his own word, is that they have fought for long. There is a new generation that is coming out to pick that mantle from them and is going to leave it to them to go with it. But we take the personal responsibility of every Kenyan to come out and raise his voice. It will no more take Raila Odinga saying that, of course, the few years that he's remaining with, he can still go to retire. But what they have been doing and what I know people have been asking him to retire, he will not be willing to go, because what they are doing is not supposed to benefit Raila Odinga, but for the posterity of the country. Confining that, those who they fought with in the trenches from 1960s, like in the 1969 killing in Kisumu, to what happened this time around during the recent brutality in Kisumu. People were pulled out of their houses and beaten. And by the way, I can tell you, one of the reasons why Raila had to stop that Mandamano is those images. You know, I said in this podcast that those images were very devastating. And I think, looking even at his body language when he was talking about those photos and the images of the brutality in Kisumu and other Azimio zones, he actually said that he thought those photos were actually from Khartoum, and he had to gather them from different people. Apart from his aides here, he had to then get to his friends who are even some are not even in the country, and get some journalists who are not even local journalists to ask, are these photos coming from other place? And that to send them to fact checkers to confirm whether those photos were actually in Kenya. Saying very well that those they fought with in the trenches for the freedom that currently this country is enjoying, some of them, being they went to detention, some of them died. Some of them lived desperate lives, and some of them went. It is not a regret that even after fighting for prosperity of the country in the trenches, nothing will not be lost if it is still kept intact. Unless what is only hurting is when the carpet is rolled back. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Odinga's message to you, delivered through this podcast. And there is one thing I can tell you. I think having listened to Mzee for almost 2 hours, there is something I've realized. Leave alone all this media hula baloo. I think if you listen to what politicians are saying the other end and you meet one on one, you will find that it's totally different. But then he doesn't seem to hold grudge. Let me tell you. Yeah, he doesn't seem to hold grudge even with President Ruto. He doesn't seem to hold grudge even with Rigathi Gachagua. We asked him, when we are greeting Rigathi, do you really mean it or it's because of the camera? He said, I don't have a problem with him. He's my son. He's a young man. He's coming in politics. He's also learning from my school. And he's saying that some of those politicians using his name to build the profile in Mount Kenya, he doesn't have a problem with them because that's how they're making their way. And he will make an exit. The only challenge is how they will get to sustain that, especially when he will be away. The only thing is about how they're going to sustain. But Raila is a bit, I think there is a gentleman in him. So, because we asked him about the handshakes, even after Kuteseka through Nyayo, he had another handshake in 1998, and then 2017 he had another handshake. And was asking, why are you normally soft for handshakes? I was like, I'm a statesperson. I'm a statesman. You cannot compare me with the young people like you. So there's just a lot. In fact, for those who still find time to hang around Raila for quite some time, should really learn a lot from I like the storytelling and all that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my take. I think I've delivered my message. And of course, it's a good opportunity and a good chance to interact with Baba. Thank you.